He separates. He's to the 20, to the 10, to the 5. Touchdown, Florida State. Warwick got up third down.
Winky looking Winky. Wants to throw the knockout punch to Warwick. Warwick open. Touchdown. He does a touchdown. He did catch it. Touchdown, Florida State. Oh, Peter Warwick, how'd you do that? Kermit Whitfield to the left side. A hole to the 30. Kermit Whitfield to the 30, to the 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, FSU. Kermit Whitfield, a 100-yard touchdown. Here's the snap. Winston rolling right. Throws the pass on the other. It's caught. It's caught. It's caught. Touchdown, FSU. Kelvin Benjamin.
We're doing it for everybody. We're doing it big all over the country, all over the world. And I'm proud. I'm proud to say I'm a Florida State Seminole.
This is the Garnet and Old Podcast with your hosts, Ryan Eastman and Vince Ciccarelli.
Thursday, 7 o'clock, Garnet and Old. Vince.
On the money.
How's it going, man?
It's going great. Thursday, 7 o'clock on the money. No inside
Vince,
info, no contacts, no problem.
I thought this was just going to be a pedestrian show, but we got some news, don't we?
We did. We got some news not even an hour ago, I don't think. I already had it listed in the show to talk about that this weekend was going to be big in terms of recruits and getting a commitment maybe. And one of the kids decided to do it today.
What them kids doing?
Yeah, they Jonathan Daniels, 4-star offensive lineman, decided to not do his commitment on July 15th. And he did it a couple minutes ago, actually about an hour ago. And so this is like a reaction, like we're reacting to this right now, real time.
Absolutely. Jonathan Daniels, 4-star offensive lineman, the first of this class. Really, really big. And I already checked the 247 rankings, and we are all the way up to 11 after the signing. We are above, I think right below Alabama, or right above Alabama, which is pretty good.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I went and did the class calculator before they actually posted the change, and I saw that we would be sitting right about 11. So, moving on up. The climb continues, Ryan. And
climb always continues.
I don't think we're done. I don't think we're done.
You know what I am done with, though? I am done with the narrative that FSU can't recruit, right? I mean, that was the narrative for how long, and it just kept going and kept going, and it felt like, everyone was panicking, and all of a sudden we get a recruiting weekend, we move up, we get another recruit today. We weren't even expecting this one today. We were expecting a weekend coming up. There was a few rumors that we were going to get maybe a few commits this weekend, but we were not at all prepared for just a 4-star on a Thursday night, which is awesome. Listen, I'm in the mid of summer when we're 2 weeks away from ACC kickoff. The Garnet and Old Show fully supports any recruit that wants to announce half an hour before our show, not for selfish reasons, because, well, it is selfish. We want the best players here, but we are thrilled that we get to talk about it right here in the moment, because he is a beast. I mean, you're recruiting a high-level player when he has an offer from Georgia.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it either, and I was looking forward to the weekend to see the kind of the fireworks to happen. He's long been predicted to go to Florida State, but until that happens, you never know. But yeah, any other recruits that are out there that would like to time their commitment to Florida State just prior to the Garnet and Old Show going live, feel free to do so. Let us know. Actually, we could actually broadcast it here.
And I'm actually, in regards to recruits, we saw some news come out this week that FSU, with a few other programs, which, not going to lie, big time programs. These are not, we're not talking about South Alabama State. We're talking about Michigan, Georgia, Tennessee, Ole Miss, USC, all of us joining a partnership all our collectives becoming having a collective association, which in my view, it's weird. It's becoming more like the NFL, right? Because it's like you always hear in the NFL, if you follow, football, it's always, there's 1,000 this association, that association, this group of agents and all that kind of stuff. It's finally made its way to college sports. Listen, say what you want about it. I know some people hate it. I know it doesn't feel collegiate anymore. It doesn't feel amateur anymore. But right now, we need organization in the realm of NIL. And so this collective of schools that we are partnering with, and I think TCA, right, is what it's going to be called, the Collective Association.
Yeah, they decided to abbreviate it to TCA, and it's made up of the Battle's End collectives from UGA, Tennessee, Ole Miss, USC, the real USC, Michigan, and Penn State. So those are the groups. So if you're looking, what kind of company are we keeping? We're keeping company with, real power programs and the collectives that support them. And when you're saying the organization part, I mean, that's the part that everybody is wanting, right? Everybody is complaining about the fact that there's no rhyme or reason to it, that it's the Wild West. And so the thought here, I believe, because I've started thinking to myself, like, what is the purpose of this? The thought of this is to have a unified group of like-minded organizations to help drive the correct policy, the correct things to keep the student athletes' well-being and their futures at the forefront, right? Because obviously the NCAA is not taking any kind of leadership here at all.
I mean, I think it's past due that the NCAA does put together some sort of, some kind of association that can have rules set forward for NIL and the current collegiate atmosphere. But it feels more and more day by day that in most things that matter, the NCAA is essentially pointless. And the things that we do still count for them on, like waivers for our players to actually be able to play this year, takes months and months and months and months for simple waivers, especially now more than ever. Vince, like the fact that we're waiting on who's the player it's on our team to come on over to get the waiver, the hardship waiver.
Daryl Jackson.
Daryl Jackson, his mom is sick, lives near FSU, wants to come play for FSU. The fact that is taking so long in a world in which transfers in the transfer portal happen every day, it just seems like sometimes the NCAA is like, I get the feeling when they actually get something to handle, they're like, we're going all in on this issue. Like we're gonna really go in depth on this because they don't have control of anything. But it's like, come on, man. But hey, the collective association, at the end of the day, it's a good thing. We're partnered with good schools, and maybe it starts to start a trend. I think you're going to see more and more collective associations, especially if more deals and products start coming out, like the NCAA football game, where instead of EA Sports having to go to each individual school, maybe they can just speak to one collective association, or a handful that have most of the big time schools. That's how you get around this whole hold up and players, boycotting, because they don't have if a collective association is representing the school or collection of schools, EA Sports, that's all they need is permission, because that collective has been chosen by the school to represent them.
Yeah, and you're not going to obviously get all of the collectives to join this group. I mean, it's not going to happen. Just like you don't get all the parents to join the PTA, right? There's always going to be some groups that maybe don't join for whatever reason, or maybe there'll be another collective association created, right? There's going to be more than one, I'm sure.
Right.
But the idea is that some group of collectives or some organization has to take a leadership role to at least figure out the rudder, like where are we even going?
Yeah.
And so the Battle's End, I think, I have a great deal of respect for what they've done, not just because of, bringing the players back, but because of, some of the people that are involved. I know that they have the students at the heart of it, the student athletes. Yes, they want their team to be great. Don't get me wrong, right? But
course.
they're going to do what's right by the student, because
Mhm.
how many decades have gone by where the NCAA is just willy-nilly making decisions, like you said, just for, decisions don't have any kind of rudder to them, like the waiver process. I mean, they
Or some of
will.
the punishments in the past where, some schools get a slap on the wrist, some schools get the death penalty, and it doesn't seem like there's any. It's kind of like it's the opposite of a court case where some judges will say 20 years ago this judge ruled that this was legal or this would be okay, and so precedent.
Right.
The NCAA did not operate within precedent. They just did whatever they felt like that year.
And they did, and it's almost like they did whatever they had the energy to do. So if they didn't really have the energy to make something, to hold a school accountable when they should have, then they just didn't do it. But when everybody, is kind of feeling it, like, hey, yeah, we're going to hammer this. It just had no rhyme or reason to it.
Right.
And the sooner that, goes by the wayside, the better.
The only thing that makes me more depressed, Vince, than the NCAA being spineless and the talk of that is what I would consider the lamest big announcement in the history, maybe of this show for sure. But one of the lamest big announcements for the ACC. Just this afternoon, it was announced that for 50 football and basketball games, I think together, like total 50 games, the CW, yes, that CW, the network that you leave on maybe in the background while you have family over because there's some kind of old sitcom that's 30 years old or a game show on. Yes, that CW will be broadcasting ACC football and basketball games instead of Raycom Sports. Now, listen, for all of you out there who say, yes, it's, it gives us money. Yes, it does. In the short term, it'll help bridge the gap between we're screwed and we're only kind of screwed. But for any of you that thinks that this is a long-term kind of point for the ACC to keep FSU and Clemson, it's not. And I actually tweeted about it, Vince, about an hour ago. I said, in 2 weeks when Jim Phillips takes that podium at ACC Media Days, that he's going to say this partnership with the CW just enforces that the ACC is here to stay, and we're strong, and we're together, and we're all going to collectively, Vince, speaking of collectives, roll our eyes, knowing that this conference is done. It has been done for a few years. It's only a matter of time before the big guys jump, and that this is only for bridging the gap revenue-wise. FSU and Clemson we'll take some a little bit extra cash from the CW deal in the next 2 years, but this doesn't change anything, so don't worry. We have to get out, Vince.
No, we are going to get out. And literally, I tweeted as well. I tweeted literally dollar bills, y'all. That's literally what we're going to get out of this. And if
nothing else, because the CW sucks.
It's not great, and I get it. I'm a middle-aged or slightly over middle-aged white guy, and my kids watch things on CW, and they don't speak to me. There may be some decent shows on there. I was trying to look up before the show started. I was looking up like the lineup. Right, it's shows like Riverdale and some other things, which my kids love, by the way.
So you can go straight from Riverdale to watching Boston College versus Wake Forest.
Yes. It's embarrassing, but I mean, they're trying whatever they can do to grab a few more pennies to cover the next few years, I believe, is what they're trying to do. And we talked about this on the show. They are going to overturn every rock to try and find some money. And we're just as teams in the conference, we're going to have to take the ribbing Just own it. Just wear it. Yeah, we're on the CW. Just own it, people. We're on the CW.
I don't want to.
You got to, because in the end, it'll be fine in the end. But for now, we used to joke all the time about, when we were going through the dark ages, the lost decade and things, like our shows are going to be on like Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Right? This is literally what's going on.
The noon ACC kickoff brought to you by MyPillow.
It has nothing to do with the ability of the team. It's literally, like I said, finding change in the couch cushions so you can spread them out amongst your kids to go get an ice cream.
Vince, I want you to pretend, put yourself in the seat in Charlotte in 2 weeks as you prepare for Jim Phillips' ACC kickoff press conference. You're in attendance, Vince, and he gets up there, and with a straight face, Jim Phillips tells you the conference is strong. With his partner with CW, we just have strengthened the position of the ACC and the national stage. Vince, would you be able to, without laughing, continue on the rest of that press conference without making at least a little chuckle, and maybe audibly on the camera up front?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Everybody that's there is going to chuckle. But everybody that's there also knows that what else are they going to do? So he is going to say the words, we have this partnership, and it's going to be a positive partnership. It is. It's going to be more money than we were going to get.
Yeah.
But it's a drop in the bucket. And so, yeah, I would chuckle. I would, but what else is he going to say? He's going to say, hey, what is he going to say? I tried, people, but all I've got for you is the CW. I mean, he's not going to say that.
Can it be worse than last year's?
Oh, with the neighborhoods?
Yeah, like what, you can't have a gated neighborhood. You want to open yourself. The whole atmosphere that we're a family and we need to protect college football as a whole. I mean, can it get worse than that?
Oh, it was pretty rough, man. But yeah, so speaking of, like, the ACC kickoff is coming up, right? It's July 25th.
Live from the CW.
The CW may broadcast it live. But yeah, so that's coming up. That's going to be very interesting. It's going to be interesting.
I can't wait, because if nothing else, it's Schadenfreude, right? You want to hear what Jim Phillips can possibly say, because there's nothing he can say. There's nothing that he's going to say up there that's going to make any of us feel like it's literally the meme of "this is fine," him up there by himself.
Right.
Or Leslie Nielsen saying "nothing to see here."
Yes, that's exactly what it is. And what would you say? I wouldn't know what to say. I mean, those of you that are watching,
you want my honest?
What would you say?
Should I put on my Garnet and Old PR hat?
Sure, do it.
I would get up there and I would say, listen, we're improving. We're making attempts right now to make the situation, the revenue stream for our current teams more advantageous for the foreseeable future, while still exploring options on how to strengthen the conference with additional teams that better fit our landscape. Something like that. Something that infers that we're going to be open to some of these teams from the Pac-10 or the Pac-12, some of the teams that are going to be left out from these other conferences. I would start, if I'm Jim Phillips, knowing that the future of the ACC is not FSU, Clemson, and probably not Miami or North Carolina. Like, the future of the ACC, you're going to be with Wake Forest and Duke and Boston College and those kind of teams. I would be selling the message without saying, like, they're gone. I would be selling the message that we are continuing to look at how to strengthen the future of the ACC with other teams that fit the our conference from both a collegiate and an academic profile.
He can't say that, and he's not going to say that, because you're basically throwing a grenade on the whole thing if you say something like that. We know that's going to happen.
I'm an agent of chaos, Vince.
Yeah, that's true. I've known that about you for a long time.
Yeah.
You just kind of throw something out there and see what happens. See what happens. But that's not. It's going to be, we're going to get the commissioner speak, and we're going to get, the locked arms, with all of the everybody knowing that the teams that once they have a chance to bolt, they're going to bolt.
They should do a "We Are the World," but like with all the coaches, and get around and sing, and then Dabo could be like, who is the female singer in "We Are the World" that just like screamed into the microphone?
Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah, he can be like that because no one likes Dabo. Speaking of Dabo, Vince, this is an interesting point. Is this going to be the first time since Mike Norvell got here that Florida State gets as much or more attention at ACC Media Days than Clemson does? So for a while, people have surrounded Dabo Swinney, like he was a prophet. And then we'd be sitting there getting like the leftover, like, the media pool wasn't as excited about Florida State. This year, it really feels like, how many articles have you seen written about Florida State versus Clemson in the preseason alone?
Yeah, it's most of them, right? It's most of the articles. If you're talking about who's going to be contending for the conference, it's us.
Yeah.
But Ryan, we haven't really had reason for Florida State to be front and center in that conference or at the media days. So now we do. We just got to live up to it. It's going to happen. Like when it comes time for Mike Norvell to hold court, it's going to be a packed house for that.
And for anyone listening live, I do want to mention, if you have a question or a comment about the big commitment tonight, 4-star offensive lineman, the CW deal, I'd love to hear what anyone listening would think about that. Pop the question in the chat on YouTube. If you have any questions at all about the ACC kickoff, man, if you want us to talk about something right now, post it in the chat. But I will say, Vince, it's amazing what a 10-win season. And then, if you go based on what the Phil Steele book has, a plethora of ACC first team and second team and third team. We have a ton of players, from Johnny Wilson to Trey Benson, Jared Verse, Jordan Travis, Jaheim Bell, Bethune. Honestly, like the list of our players depth wise is the best it's been
in a while
since I'm going to say since 2016. It just is depth wise.
Yeah, I think so.
Because 2017 was we were already starting to. That was the end, right? So we were already starting to see a little. The offensive line was trash in 2017 and beyond.
Right.
We had a few 5-star players that were kind of like, you felt like they were almost like legacies, like holding on by a thread, left over as juniors and seniors. But the wheels were kind of falling off of recruiting. So we have more players that the national media is excited about them than we have since 2016.
Yeah, and just to throw a little not really controversy, but a talking point. Phil Steele did not choose Jordan Travis for first team. He was on the second team. Isn't
that weird? Like, because you had, Trey Benson and Johnny Wilson, Jared Verse on the list, and I agree with Jared Verse because they're projecting Jared Verse to be a potential first-round draft pick, like number 1 linebacker taken in the draft. Makes sense. Johnny Wilson, sure. Yeah, absolutely. He's probably Trey Benson, although we were excited about him, and I think he will have the kind of season that will make him a first-team All-ACC. I would argue going into the season, Jordan Travis should have that nod ahead of Benson.
Yeah, we're biased. But, if Jordan we are splitting hairs, right? We're talking about first team versus second team, where 3 or 4 years ago there was nobody on
no
the
team.
List. Dalvin Cook would be on, right?
Cam Akers,
like that. Cam Akers, right?
Yeah.
So, hey, here's a blast from the past. Making the first team, according to Phil Steele, one Mr. Jarvis Brownlee,
Louisville.
Yeah.
Remember, Vince, you remember at Louisville last year when we posterized him in the end zone for a touchdown?
I do remember that. And I always liked Jarvis Brownlee. I am not going to deny that he was an all or nothing. Like, he would give you.
We have you on camera 2 years ago singing his praises, but
yeah, and I will.
Wasn't it Tate Rodemaker that threw that touchdown?
Oh, I don't remember.
I think it was Tate Rodemaker. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so this is the time of year for lists and all that kind of stuff, and so that's one that caught our eye.
Other
And
than that, I mean, we were going to talk about recruiting just as a holistic sense tonight, like, and go
yeah,
through some of the. But Jonathan Daniels kind of stole the show. His video was interesting. Like, I know, like, there, with him on the grave site. I don't know if you watched his announcement video. And Vince, if you haven't watched it, have you or not?
I have not watched it yet.
Go
But
watch it because
I have done my job to like it and retweet it. I've done my
yeah,
job.
he's kneeling at a gravestone, clearly like an ode to someone probably in his family.
Relative, yeah.
But then he stands up and he turns, and I think that they're trying to make it look like he's weeping, but it's like airplane style where it's just like someone poured water right here on his head,
Right.
and then it cuts right to his like him just working out with a high school coach, his high school coach, and his high school coach Vince. It looks like me out there. I want you to, for all of you that know me, and those of you who don't, go watch the announcement video. The guy that is working out with Jonathan Daniels, whoever that coach is, hair, physique, it looks like me moving around out there. It's quite impressive. But the announcement video, I think, was just a little odd, just the way when you see it, the water's just pouring down his face, and I think they were trying for tears, but it looks like rain.
Right. Well, I mean, production costs. I mean,
Yeah.
the budget's got to get cut somewhere, Ryan.
Yeah, we're all tightening our belts, right?
We're all tightening the belts, and so maybe we didn't have the necessary coaching or whatever to make sure that happened in the most natural way. Here's a bucket of water, just pour it over your head.
You know who's not tightening their belt though as a whole is the Garnet and Old Show, because we talked a little bit about it last week. Big stuff coming. Investment, Vince. You have to spend money to make money, right? You have to invest and elevate. Look at our schedule, Vince. Let me tell you something for all of you out there. If you had sat down with me and Vince 3 years ago when we started this show and started doing this live show and all these podcasts and YouTube, and you told us that we would be doing pre and post game live from Doak and pre and post game live from a bar and grill at certain away games, and have our own weekly show at the time. If it was summertime in our first season, we barely did one show. So probably about 10 times the content than we've ever done. And it's all because we love talking about Florida State. And we've met some fantastic people along the way who also love Florida State and happen to own a bar, which is fantastic. So we're going to be at Fishweir Brewing Company here in Jacksonville, Florida, for 2 games this year, live, Boston College and Wake Forest. So come in, if you're in Jacksonville, Florida, come to Fishweir. It's near Riverside in the Jacksonville, Florida area. We'll probably be there about an hour or two before a game, doing pre-game, and then we're going to do a halftime show. And guess what? We'll have the cameras there. We'll show the crowd. We're going to be doing the war chant. It's going to be awesome, and it's owned by Florida State grads. So it's help a Noel, help Garnet and Old, help us, help you. That's the message.
I knew that. I knew that was coming. Help us, help you. And it is exciting. And if you have any suggestions for those live events, like if some of our listeners or watchers out there are like, hey, it'd be great if we did this live. Yeah, bring it on. Bring it on. Ryan and I are talking about the production part of it. We're going to trying to get that all worked out. It'll be fine. But what would put it over the top? We want to climb. We're still on the climb. We want to figure out to get to the highest level. But
I think a multicam on Vince would put it over the top, much like he's been debuting tonight.
Hey, you've seen some of the production. There's no limit to what we can do.
I'm not going to lie, Vince. Our production value is close, if not better, than the current ACC network.
It's better than the CW, probably. So
yeah, do you think maybe EJ Manuel will be willing to renegotiate a contract and join Garnet and Old?
Oh, there you go. Hey, you never know. We don't have any of those kind of contacts, though.
Not yet.
So we'll see what happens. I don't think really, Ryan. I mean, we kind of hit it right. I think the last thing to mention before we get out of here is that there are a number of other recruits that are supposed to commit on the 15th or close to
And
that.
if not the 15th, early in August too.
Yeah. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And if you don't want to keep track of it to the nitty-gritty level, that's why we're here, to kind of keep you, to give you the bullet points. So when you're chatting with your buddies, with your family or whatever, that you have the talking points that you need to be on.
If we even get 3 of these
level.
commitments, because right now, if you were to look on the team rankings on 247, we're only 1 recruit short of like number 5 or 6 team on the recruiting rankings.
Yeah.
And if any of ours end up being a 5-star, which we believe we might get some soon, that rating average on the blue chip ratio and everything, it just increases. Man, we could shoot up real quick from people being panicking a month ago when we're 18 to being 6 or 5 and everyone's feeling great and seeing Kumbaya. We knew it was going to happen too.
And if the season progresses like it should, Katie bar the door.
Hashtag Vince was right.
Katie bar the door. Ryan, thanks for making this show happen tonight. Those you're watching, listening, don't forget every Thursday, 7 p.m. And don't forget, start making your plans now for games this fall and away games. If you're in the Northeast Florida area, come and join us.
You can also check us out on any podcast service. We're on all of them. If there's a podcast service, for the most part, we're on it. We're on YouTube, Twitter, all our streams. Like, subscribe, wherever you listen to podcasts, or if you like the video version, which a lot of you do, apparently, our numbers, Vince, have been nearly double on video platforms. So you like looking at this beautiful face. I considered Vince just going shirtless for shows, but I want to make sure it's for the right reasons and not just for views.
There are no right reasons for that. And we are not on Threads, just so everybody's clear.
Not yet. We'll see how it goes. Too many social platforms. I'm not even sure it integrates yet with Threads. But who knows? Anyways, Garnet and Old, live from the CW. No. But Garnet and Old Show, no inside info, no contacts, no problem. Have a great night.
Go Knowles.
Go Knowles.